What is going on, everybody out there in internet land? I am Sean Richard. With me today, as always, I've got Candido Diaz, aka Candid Mortgage Guy. And if you want to get approved with Mark Sullivan. I am Will You Mortgage Me? Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of the Relo Show, Real Estate by Loan Officers. We got a great show today. What's up, guys? Man, Candido. I'm happy, but I wish it went to 7. I'm happy. I just wish it went to 7.
You know what?
Candido's on cloud 9.
Yeah. Do you even have to ask me my win for the week?
I don't have to. It's like, was that really your win? This whole
I think that was a Celtics win.
We will. We are the champions. It's not I am the champion. It's we are the champions.
Right, like the team or Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Freddie Mercury's the champion.
Either one.
Right.
Good stuff. Mark, man, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Sweet. Well, thrilled to get into the content today. We've got. I love this topic, and I think this is really needed right now. We're talking about hard-hitting questions that we need to be asking in our business. So not like of our business, although those are great questions too. But as far as interacting with clients, with agents, maybe agents interacting with lenders, like what are some hard-hitting questions that maybe a lot of people in our industry are scared to ask? But before that, as always, let's get into our wins and losses, man. Tell us, Mark.
I was starting to wonder. I was starting to think that my win was not having to talk about my losses this week. But you brought it back, so we appreciate that for sure. I don't really have a whole lot wins wise. Personally, I went under contract on a house, so I guess that's a win, huh? The losses, honestly, just kind of been in a funk lately. Not a lot of applications. I've been doing things to get applications, but I haven't been getting a lot of them. So I'd say overall, that's a loss. Again, win was probably getting myself under contract. My sister is buying my parents' house, the house that we grew up in. So that's kind of a cool thing. So that's like a personal win. Man, it's been slow. So I'm going to have to call it that. And it always rests on your shoulder. So I haven't been doing enough to get those applications in. Haven't been making the phone calls I needed to make. And that usually results mostly in my applications. Like I've been posting on social media. That's all fine and dandy. I've been interacting with my referral group, but when I'm not making intentional calls, that's usually when my applications really drop, and that's my loss.
Candido, man, you got some wins other than the C's dropping the Mavericks.
Yeah. So, well, let me start with the loss. All of Dallas. No. Loss for the week, had a deal, unfortunately fall through. It was due to inspection and needing over 50 grand worth of electrical work. They just decided to not want to go through with that. Win for the week. I would say, obviously, the Celtics, it's everybody's in a great mood around here. But I got a couple of completely random applications. One of them was from social media, somebody I'd never met before. To me, that's always cool. I love hearing that. Obviously, it's an important question to ask. That way you understand when you are receiving a lead, where it actually comes from. Got a just completely unexpected, and that was pretty cool. What about you, Sean?
Awesome. No, I agree. Tracking is important. Man, my losses, and this isn't really a big loss, but I randomly got ghosted by an agent. We had a meeting set up, and the morning of the meeting, I reached out like, hey, looking forward to connect, looking forward to meeting you. I've got a little gift for you as well for our meeting. And then 5 minutes later, I got a response. I won't be able to make it today. Like no reason, just won't be able to make it. But I could do next week at this specific time, which is a time that I'm just not available. So I said, hey, not able to make that time. But Tuesday or Thursday afternoons would be fantastic. Let me know if those work for you. Crickets. I've since followed up a couple of times. Nothing, nothing whatsoever. No response at all. So a little bit odd, but it happens. That's the nature of some of the agents that we deal with sometimes. On the flip side, got 2 contracts in. We're in the doing loans business, so anytime we get contracts in, always positive. One of them, massive win. It's a client that I pre-approved for the first time 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago. Finally found a home that meets their needs and went under contract. So a huge win there.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Great. Well, let's dive into today's topic. So we're talking hard-hitting questions. We're talking important questions that we need to be asking. So whether that's, as a lender, questions that you can be asking to real estate agents, whether it's, questions that we need to be talking to clients about to make sure that we fully understand their scenario, or for all of you real estate agents tuning in out there, questions that you can be asking clients and or lenders to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success, setting your clients up for success. So, Candido, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about kind of some questions that you love to include in your process?
Yeah, well, so we're gonna do it a few different ways. For me, what I'm actually going to lead off with are some agent to lender questions. So, a realtor to lender. What, as a real estate agent, what can you be asking to loan officers out there? So you guys please jump in when you see it necessary. So if it's a new relationship, I think one of the most important things to ask, and this is assuming that you're already working on a client together, how thorough was the pre-approval process? Some people have push button get mortgage, and they didn't really take a look at absolutely anything. I would say that's different than how us three go through our pre-approvals, right? So it's important to understand that not everybody does things the exact same way. So you need to know, as a real estate agent, how thorough was the process? Did you actually collect documents? Did it go into underwriting, or was this just truly like a pre-qualification where somebody went in, filled out some information and hit print, and that was it? What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I think that's more common as far as like the lack of due diligence than a lot of maybe even clients and or real estate agents realize. I don't think, with today's technology, there are a lot of companies out there that you can literally go on your phone, you can punch in some information, not provide a shred of documentation, and they provide you with a letter. And a lot of times that might even say pre-approval, which is a little bit scary for us, who do a lot more due diligence, right? Mark?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a real common one, and I think that's one that good agents are becoming more and more aware of. Kind of along the same lines as, hey, is your LO? Making sure the LO is local, making sure the LO is, knowledgeable, about the area, and it's not even really that. As far as we're concerned, it's more about having some kind of accountability. If you're it's like, let's say you work at a company that rhymes with Flickin' or Veterans United, something like that, where you don't really have any skin in the game, right? You write a pre-approval, and if it goes flat, whatever, it doesn't have any impact on your career really at all as a loan officer, because you're just taking in leads. Whereas if I get a referral from a real estate agent, then and I don't do a good job, or the loan doesn't close, that reflects poorly on me, and it impacts my business moving forward.
We know that
really,
never happens,
as an agent, that's really what you're looking for.
Yeah, we know that doesn't happen, Mark. We know you always do a good job, because otherwise Candido and I wouldn't be friends with you.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. It was on the friendship questionnaire, I believe.
It was. Yeah, I was on the friendship agreement.
Yeah.
So I have a couple more that that I think is important as a real estate agent to ask to a lender. One, understand the loan program, right? What is the loan program that they are actually using to submit an offer? It could be something very basic. It could be like a state program. Is it FHA? Is it a VA loan? I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but it could be very important for information for you to know upon making an offer. And then you know, uh, one thing I always like to go through with the agent, and I always tell the agent they should be asking this to their under other lender partners. Not only how much do they qualify for, what are they comfortable with as far as the where does that monthly payment put them for their buying power, and how much wiggle room do they have? Especially if there's not much wiggle room there. As an agent, I 100% want to know this before going back and forth. And this will obviously help you with whatever sort of offer that you want to make. So I think those are extremely important facts for an agent to know, and questions for an agent to ask a lender.
I agree. All really, really solid questions that, really are going to help the agent do their job better, right? Like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, like the agent and lender working in harmony is going to benefit the client, and both agents and lenders really want that. Mark, man. So tell us a little bit about, you're talking a different angle, right? A different focus. So what questions, what part of the relationship are you talking about today?
Yeah, so important questions definitely from a lender to a prospect, right? So from our perspective, to and in my opinion, I don't think it matters whether the prospect was referred to you or you generated the lead or whatnot. But these are just more questions to get the process started and to get the most and do the best job, obviously for your client. Main things that I look for are, what are your long-term goals, right? Many LOs will go into this and be order takers and will say, hey, what are you looking to do? Yada, yada, yada. And just wham, bam, like you said, press button, get mortgage. In my opinion, if you do that, there's a lot of buttons people could press. And all of a sudden they're going to press 6 different buttons to get mortgage. And if you're not the lowest rate because you provided no other value, then they're not coming back to push your button, basically. So long-term goals and short-term goals. It'll help you build the loan for the short term, and it'll help you tell them what to do 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, 10 years down the line. If they leave the conversation with you feeling like they have a multi-year plan in this transaction, they're less likely to shop and have that same conversation with 3 or 4 other lenders. So for me, those are the two biggest ones. Always take a full application. Like I go back to, a lot of LOs do this, but a lot of LOs will just take just the necessary information to get the application in and get it approved eligible, right, with DU. And the problem with that is you don't know the full picture. You don't know what they're capable of. You're just doing what they tell you they want to do, right? So how many times have you had somebody say, hey, I want a down payment assistance loan, when in reality, they've got the assets to put 30% down if they wanted to without really hurting themselves. And, you come back, you work up the DPA and like, oh, this isn't very good at all. I was like, well, yeah, it's a down payment assistance loan. Your rate's usually a little bit worse and stuff like that. Like, oh, well, I can put 10% down. If you would have asked that from the start, you would have been able to guide them through not only what's best for them, but what other options might exist. So a full app is extremely important. For me,
Mark, and real quick, you're spot on with that. Like I get down payment assistance leads sometimes, and I would say more than 50% have plenty of assets, but they've been programmed by society to like, oh, I need down payment assistance. So you're 100% spot on, man.
Right on. Yeah, and honestly, I think a big thing for me is, after you're done collecting your information and after you're done talking to them about what their goals are and things like that, A really important question is what would make this a perfect experience for you? And I just dropped my glasses. What would make this a perfect experience for you? That way you're establishing what their expectations of the process are. You, in your mind, could deliver a 5-star, 10 out of 10 service, but if they're expecting something completely different from you, there's no way to achieve that. In my eyes, it's better to say, hey, what would make this a perfect experience for you? Then I'd try to do those things so that at the end of the transaction, I can say, well, you said a perfect transaction would be this. Do you think I accomplished those things for you? It makes it a lot easier to give you a 5-star review when they basically just told you that everything you did made the perfect experience. So using those words, I think, is a really important. Sean, I know you have a really good review process as well. So things like that. But what would make this the perfect experience for you? And I think lastly, what's the most important thing for you? Are you looking? What's the most important thing for you in a loan? Are you looking for lower monthly payment? Are you looking for lower rate? Are you looking for lower cash to close? And I think being on the same page with all of those questions helps not only guide them to make the right decisions, but it also guides them to know that you are providing them with a perfect experience.
Man, dropping knowledge today, Mark, and you're resonating with me a lot today. I actually just had a discovery call with a client yesterday, and they have plenty of income. Payment's not an issue, but they have a very finite amount that they can put down without taking on penalties. And so when I ask them, like, what's more important to you? Where do you feel more comfortable stretching your budget? Is it monthly payment or cash to close? Then like, hey, we're happy to stretch our monthly budget for the right home, but we got to keep our cash to close at X or less. And so, everyone thinks, oh, it's the lowest monthly pay. I guess my thought on that, when I hear you tell me that, what I'm thinking is everyone's got a different opinion on what's important to them. And a lot of times in our industry, we assume that we know because like, oh, everyone wants this. Well, it depends on the scenario, I think, and that's why it's so important to ask. I agree with you 100%, Mark.
Awesome. And I would say, the more that you understand about their goals, you want to try and understand not just from the perspective of this transaction right here, right now. Mark, I think you did a great job explaining, it's not just about today. It's about, 5 years from now as well, right? The more information that you have about that given client could potentially mean, hey, look, this might be a referral for a financial planner, or, there's more opportunity here for you to be, not only knowledgeable and helpful to the client, but to be able to, help expand your business by giving out referrals as well.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. All right. What about you, Candido? What do you have for us today?
Well, I already went, but I appreciate you,
Mark.
Thank you.
Candido is so popular that these guys just wish it were double Candido and Mark.
They just want me all the time. I get it.
So I'm gonna go yet another facet of the relationship building. Talking about as lenders, how we communicate and how we talk to agents. Some of the questions that we ask. I like to ask really uncomfortable questions, and not necessarily uncomfortable for them, but uncomfortable for me. Questions that in my earlier career, I wouldn't even think of asking because maybe I didn't have the confidence, or I didn't want to know the answer, right? And so some of the questions that I really like is, after, let me paint a picture for you. So after maybe we've met with an agent for the first time, we got along well, and they've agreed. They're like, hey, yeah, we should start doing some business together, right? Well, then sometimes, and you guys let me know if you've ever experienced this, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months go by, crickets, haven't worked together yet. You guys ever experienced that?
Yes, all the time.
All the time. So one question that I really like to ask, because it was like, well, how do I reach back out to them and have that conversation? And so one of the easiest questions to ask that is uncomfortable is, hey, Mark, we got together, 2-3 weeks ago, had a great sit down, Sounded like we had a great rapport and could potentially make great partners. We haven't done any business yet. We haven't teamed up on anything. Is there anything that I've done or haven't done that's kept us from working together yet? Right. And throw yourself under the bus and maybe there was something that you don't even know that you maybe didn't do or that you did that caused them to say, hey, I'm going to look in another direction. But it also gives you the opportunity for them to say, oh, hey, you know what? No, I haven't had anybody that to be able to send over to you. And it gives you more clarity. So that way you aren't, as lenders, we get in our heads, right? We're like, oh man, we paint this story of what's going on. And 9 times out of 10, that story is not actually true. So this really allows them, it creates some vulnerability for us and allows them to either say, hey, no, nothing's wrong. I just haven't had anybody for you. Or it allows us to learn maybe something that we could have done better or could be doing better. So that's a really good one that I like. When I'm meeting with agents, a couple things that I really like to ask is, what is your biggest challenge in your business right now? Really important. And I usually will preface that by saying, other than the market, what is the biggest challenge? Because if we just ask, what's the biggest challenge in your business? 80% of agents are going to go, oh, the market, right? Oh, it's inventory, the market.
Right.
It's like asking a client, what's most important to you? 9 times out of 10, they're going to go, oh, the interest rate. Well, if we say, other than interest rate, what's most important to you in this process? So I like to take that out ahead of time. Other than the market, what's your biggest challenge in your business right now? And really understand where their pain points are. I also want to understand how I can help them achieve their goals. So asking something along the lines of what are you looking to accomplish this year? Or what, if we're at the end of the year, hey, what are you looking to accomplish next year? And really dig down and understand their goals and what they want to achieve. Maybe it's not even related to their business. Maybe it's, hey, I want to be able to cut back my hours and spend more time with my family while doing the same amount of business, right? Understanding that is important. And then the follow-up question to that is really, what will it take for you to achieve that? What's going to have to happen for you to achieve that? And now we get them thinking outside of the box and tell us, hey, here's the blueprint that needs to take place for me to be able to accomplish my goal. And now we really start to understand, okay, well, now that they've given us that information, we can start to formulate some solutions, some plans. Hey, this is what I know I can do. This is what they need. Let me tailor what I can do and help them achieve their goals. So I think those are some really powerful questions that we don't maybe ask too much. Another one that I really like is I like to have, get creative with the way that I'm asking the question. And so a lot of times that's like, you've got a magic wand, or if you could snap your fingers. So like, as an example, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about your current lending relationships, what would you change? And asked in a way which comes across as not like, oh, what do you hate about your current lenders, right? Like nobody should be asking that, especially not in that way, But hey, if you could wave a magic wand, change one thing, what would you change? And again, we're trying to uncover pain points and doing it in a way that is much more conversational. I've got a few more questions here that I really like, so I'm going to go through them fast, and then you guys can chime in and give me your feedback.
Sure.
I love asking, what will kill our relationship? And I do that by saying, hey, what are your top 2 or 3 deal breakers that would keep you from working with a lender? And you're like, hey, give me the answers. Tell me that if I do it, I'm done. I want to know where the boundaries are. What's going to be amazing for you and what's going to be an absolute deal breaker? And so, yeah, what are your top 2 or 3 deal breakers that would keep you from working with a lender? And then when I'm meeting with an agent, just straight up bluntly asking, hey, do you have any reservations about sending me your next 2 buyer referrals? Have I done enough? I've really enjoyed talking with you today. Did you find our time together valuable? Oh, awesome. Have I done enough to earn your next 2 buyer referrals?
Right.
And
Sean, if you don't mind me,
Yeah,
sliding in there real quick. I think
my DMs.
One thing that you're really doing here with a lot of these questions is you're establishing yourself as somebody that's very unique. and somebody that's different, but a lot of times you're recalibrating their minds, right? A lot of agents look towards, especially the ones with the 3 cards, right? They look towards lenders as just somebody to refer out to, kind of how we see
a vendor.
Yeah, how we see homeowners insurance agents a lot, and and things like that, where and they're the same way. They could help us with our business, but you really recalibrate their mind, because a good agent has already made a business plan, right? A good agent has already decided, this is how I'm going to get to my goal. This is how I'm going to achieve this, and this is my timeline in doing it. And very few of them include partnerships from other industries within our industry, right? Very few of those business models will include a lender partner instead of a lender vendor, right? And when you open that door, they may not be able to answer you right away on that phone call, but even if they can't, if you say something like, well, just think about it, I'm here to support you. If there's something that I could add to help you reach those goals, right? And all of a sudden they're going, oh my gosh, and then you say, is there any reason why I couldn't get a shot at your next deal? It just brings so much more weight, so much more value. And that, Sean, that's why you're kicking tail right now and closing a lot more loans than a lot of other loan officers are. So I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, absolutely. That's 100% the way to go.
Yeah. And I would say, all of this is really about managing expectations, right? And not every single relationship is going to be, a home run out of the park. But if you're asking these questions that we're going over, and Sean, you hit the nail on the head. If you're asking these questions and you're not liking these answers, guess what? Then, maybe that relationship is just not for you. You go on to the next one. But it's important that you ask these questions. That way you already have an idea as to what to expect, what the agent can expect. These are fantastic questions. So you hit the nail on the head, Sean.
And
Awesome.
agents, if there's any agents out there tuning in, like as loan officers, we need to be going in to relationships with you guys here. Whoops. There we go. Here. Right. Many loan officers, they put agents up on a pedestal and they're like, oh, please send me your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how that partnership should work. And that's the key word, right? Like Mark, you nailed it. Partnership versus vendor. There's a lot of real estate agents out there that look at lenders as vendors. And agents, if you're tuning in, if you are looking at your lenders as vendors, that means you don't have lenders who are commanding a stronger partnership with you. And that's not necessarily on you. A lot of that's on them, but that's an opportunity for you to reevaluate as well. And I'll end with this question that I love because it applies across kind of the entire spectrum of what we've talked about today. So I love asking for feedback. Mark, you alluded to my Google review process. And I always like asking, like, hey, how was your experience? And get that feedback. But then this is like my key critical follow-up question to that is, once I do ask for that initial feedback, and this is to clients, to real estate agents across the board, was there anything that I could have done better to make your experience, or is there anything that I could have done to make your experience even better? Right? Because 9 times out of 10, I know my process, and humble brag for a moment. We crush it. Maybe not a humble brag, maybe just a brag. We crush it.
Very humble.
Well, and I've got tons of 5-star reviews online that backs up what I'm saying, but we can always get better, right? Like in 9 times out of 10, when I say, hey, how's your experience? I know what they're going to say because I've been checking in on it throughout the entire process. Oh, right. It was fantastic. Hey, this is, great. It's one of the best mortgage experiences we've had. Awesome. Well, that doesn't help me, guys. Like that doesn't help me improve one bit by telling me I'm fantastic. I want to know what could have went better, what could have went, what wasn't perfect for them. And so that little follow-up to that feedback question, was there anything that I could have done to make your experience even better, is so important, because it gives them the authority to say, oh, well, actually, let me nitpick your process a little bit. because I want them to. I want them to nitpick it so that way I can improve it that much more. So that way I'm constantly improving. So that question I love and applies in so many different scenarios.
Boom.
Awesome.
Drop the mic. It's
Yeah.
powerful stuff right there. So yeah, any last words, fellas? That was a great show.
Yeah, I think I think the overall, point is don't be afraid to ask the hard questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions that other people's won't. Wow. Don't forget to ask questions that other people will not. How about that? Because it's going to set you apart. It's going to create value. And if you're open to listening to answers that you might not like, it will improve your process so that, because everybody's thinking the same things no matter what, but improve your process so that future people don't think the same thing. And a lot of times if they had that bad experience, if they just have a moment to share that with you, or even if it's just a part that they didn't like, they have a moment to share that with you. Usually that kind of clears it up. They've given them time to voice that. You're like, hey, I regret that that's how you feel, or I regret that you experienced that. And then you move forward. They still give you a great review and probably refer you down the road because they know that, hey, most people know you make mistakes. You're going to grow from it. More power to you. Let's move on. But great show overall, guys.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We are here each and every Tuesday at 12 Eastern, 11 Central, and everything else. I am here with Sean Richard, Mark Sullivan, and from the City of Champions, Candido Diaz. We will see you next week. Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Battlehawks.